Hello YouTube, Robin Hood Bricks here, and today we're going to load my cargo train up with 11 carriages and get it going around the city. Well, in the last city update video we actually finished ballasting all of our rail track, and it's taken a long time and quite a lot of pieces to do so. And now I feel proud enough to be able to unveil not only my cargo train engine, but also all of its carriages as well, and have them going around the city. And we've even got the grey rail bridge in place as well, so it needn't feel ashamed running around a partially done track. Now I'm going to introduce you to each of my carriages in turn, because some I've modified and I've collected them all from lots of different sets, and I find it quite interesting to go for a lot of variety. But before I do, I wanted to explain why I try and go for such long trains. Because 11 carriages is pretty long. I mean, usually you'd either get 3 or 4 if you were lucky with a typical cargo set. And the reason is because you don't get much value for money by having large rail lines around your city. Not density-wise anyway. I mean, I've estimated that each of my rail tracks uses about 70 pieces of track, and therefore, even just the simple loops, they take up each the equivalent of about 18 base plates, because in a standard layout, you'd only have 4 pieces of track per base plate. So if you thought about that as a building, taking up about 18 base plates, it'd have to be pretty good to warrant that sort of real estate use in a crowded city centre. So I want to get my value for money. Now, one of the methods that I use to get around this is by having a lot of things over the railway line. You've already seen my castle and Major Oak Hill and at Sweat. Even the tram line is utilising space over the rail line. So I am trying to get as much as I can bang for my buck, but the best way is by having a beast like this, which I actually nicknamed the Beast because it's big, red and strong, and it can pull a heck of a lot around. So let's start with the Beast. This is the engine from the heavy haul train, set 60098, and I really like this mostly because of its colour, nice and bright and red, and because it's one of these designs that is meant to go both directions. I really like the symmetry of it. It also looks really powerful if you ask me, and that's important because I've modified it to carry 11 carriages. So the minor modifications first, I've changed these bar pieces so they're the type without the ridge, and I've inverted this whole setup so it's going into the side rather than sticking out too far from it. And that's because there are a few obstacles around my city that are very near the railway line. Because I go for maximum density, you're never that far from a pillar or a tunnel or a support for a tram line or something. And even minor sort of hits build up and either cause damage or maybe even structural failure. So I've tried to minimise absolutely everything that could or has been heard to be touching. Now the main change that I've done, because if you have this similar train, you'll know that you can only pull about 4 or 5 carriages, maybe 6, 7 or 8, but it will take a bit of a while to get started. So what I've done is added a second engine to this. So you've got the normal one on the front, and I've bought another one, another Power Functions train motor, 88002, and fitted that on the back. So it's got twice the power. Now they both run from the exact same infrared source, and they also run from the exact same side of it. So it's not like you've got to do 2 wheels to get it going. They just both are on or both off. Now, the only complication to that is that the motor's wires have to go in towards the middle, both of them. And that would mean that forward on the back motor would be that way, and forward on the front motor would be that way, which wouldn't be very good at all, would end up ripping the beast in half. So you have to incorporate what I've put in this back kind of cabin, which is the Power Functions Polarity switch. That's 8869. And that just reverses the polarity of one of the motors. So when it's forward on this one, it then gets flipped to backwards on this one, and they both go in the same direction. Very, very important. So with both motors, they've definitely got enough traction to pull the heavy weight that is all those carriages, and it works really well. Right, so on to our first carriage. Well, our first carriage today is the coal truck, and this is from the same set, it's a heavy haul train set, 60098, and I really like this one. I won't tip open the openable doors that would be the chute by which all the coal would tip out, because I filled mine with coal. The level should be arguably a little bit higher, but I've been pilfering these for projects because whenever I need a round brick I know where to get them. But I really like the sort of drab sort of brown colour of this thing, and it really looks very familiar. I mean, I love Lego sets where it looks exactly like the thing in real life but still on a sort of Legoized scale. So I'm a real fan of that, and I know it's very popular because in the second-hand market these go for quite a price, because some people like to have multiples of it again and again, so you've got a train with about 40 of these being pulled along. And I really like that technique as well, but I'm going for absolute diversity in my city, as you'll know from my design rules in the 100th video, so I'm going to have one of each. So we'll join that one up and move it along. Now another small one is this cow carriage. It's just a carriage with a cow in it, with a couple of bales of hay and a farmer. I've actually put a 1x1 plate in the bucket, so it looks like he's just got some milk. It'd have to be a long horned cow variety, otherwise it's a male cow, which would be a bit disturbing. So that can go on there. That one is from the cargo train 60052, the blue one. Now I'm going to have to pretty much refer to them by their colours because virtually all of these sets are called cargo train, which is relatively unsurprising perhaps. But that again is a really interesting car because it's completely different from all the others and quite unique to Lego as well, I think. So I'm really happy with that. I'm sure you could do multiples of that one as well, but let's stick with the variety. The third short one, another one that a lot of people like to make multiples of, and that's a Nocturn Tanker. Now this one's from, yep, you guessed it, cargo train, but this time the yellow one, 7939 from 2010. And I really like this because again, this is another set that looks exactly like it would in real life, right down to the sort of warning sign, and I've actually got two of those, so there's one on each side, that tells you what the contents of the tanker is. Now the only thing I've done on this one is I've taken off the ladders that were down each of these bits on both sides, and that's just because of that collision risk. And not only that, but they could actually move as well, so they were quite sort of wobbly, and if you want one flying out at high speed and hitting something. But yeah, it's a beautiful tanker. So that's three short ones. So those short carriages were between sort of 16 and 20 studs long. And now we move to the 24 stud long carriages. This is one of my own design. It's pretty straightforward really. It's now using the bogies, so these wheels can tilt for the corners. And the bottom structure is very simple indeed. It's just kind of a flatbed with some sort of interesting detail in the middle. And on this carriage, we've got some cargo. So this one's actually a Han Solo in carbonite, which I just thought was quite a fun sort of little Easter egg. That's from a few sets, that piece. The first of which was Slave 1, set 8097, back in 2010. But it's still in use right up to the current day. And then I've got another one in a green, and these are really good, these panel pieces with different cargo emblems on them. These ones come from a few sets like the City Harbour 7994 or the yellow cargo train 7939 that the Octane thing came from, or even the container stacker 7992. I do also like the modern corrugated ones. So this blue one, you see, is one of those corrugated ones. These are really good as well, but I like a bit of variety. So we've got different colours, blue and green, and some stickered and some corrugated. So this one's got some plain engines on, facing both ways, because you want it to look interesting. And that's the reason why I have all these containers with open sides. It's not because I want maximum realism, but more because I want to be able to see inside them and I want to sort of admire the contents. So that's one of those, and these have all got the hooks on the top so they can be picked up by the cranes, both at the road cargo depot, which I haven't yet built, or arguably the sea cargo depot as well. Right, so I'll join that one up. So that was number 4. And then number 5. This is the same, in that the bottom is the same, but we've just got 2 more containers. We get our variety that way. So now we've got a yellow container with the cargo logo on, and we've got 2 very sort of large looking, what would they be? Lorry engines, I suppose. And all of this is detachable. So it's got some manifolds and headers. So it's a V engine, and it's got the sort of fan belty type bit at the front. So that's quite interesting. I think it's worthwhile spending a bit of time getting your cargo looking good as well as your train. So that's a yellow container. And then a red one, well, we'd be remiss if we didn't have some octane gas or propane type bottles as well. Good, good. So yellow and red. And this one's got the hazard stripe stickers on because of the flammable nature of the contents. Next, we've got one with some electrical reels on, and this is a modified version of the carriage that would have 2 of these on, that comes with the blue cargo train 60052, and I've just modified it to have 3. So in order to do that, you actually need to get a different base piece, because this isn't a 24 long base piece, because each of these pallets is 8 long, it's 28, and that gives you the extra length you need to fit 3 of these bad boys on. So again, I've just added a little bit of detail at the bottom with a sort of control panel and some profile brick, and in a different colour as well, just to get a bit more variety in there. And this base actually, I think, comes from a boat transport set as well. So yeah, not that easy to get in that size. So that's a very good one. I like that. I really like the green, and I really like the different shapes, because that's another carriage that you've probably seen yourself just going by on a rail line. The next one, that's a long one, is the crane. Now there's been a few cranes on train carriages in the past, and I've never really quite got behind them because they didn't look very big and very meaty, and I just thought they were a bit rubbish really, until the recent cargo train, the green one from 2018, so that's 60198. And this crane looks very industrial if you ask me. I mean, it's huge. It takes up the whole 24 long carriage on its own. It's got stabilised legs and all the rest of it, and I think it just looks fantastic. So I didn't want to buy that set because basically I've got too much train already, but I did want that carriage, and fortunately I was able to get one on eBay from one of those lovely people who buys sets and splits them up for people like me. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, carriage number 7. Now for carriage number 8, I've got a sort of a amalgam of a few different sets in a way. Basically, this carriage was meant to carry the JCB or backhoe, which is kind of a workman vehicle, as part of the heavy haul train set 60098. That's the one the Beast comes from. But basically, I couldn't fit the JCB, or backhoe if you're American, through my tunnel, because the wheels actually make that vehicle exactly 8 wide, and that's the width of my tunnel. So if it even just slightly touched, it would be enough resistance to cause this and every carriage behind it to disconnect from the main train, which is not what you want. But I like the style of it, and I like these stickers saying the sort of weight tolerance and all the rest of it. So I got another one of those 28 long carriage bases, And now it's long enough to actually fit 2 normal cars on, because another one of the sets, I think it was the yellow cargo train 7939, had a carriage with 2 cars on as well, but they were micro cars, you know, kind of like smart cars. And though it was quite fun, they looked a bit diddy. So this is a compromise between the two. And I've done my own little bit of detailing in the middle, because without something like this, the gap between the wheels is quite large. So yeah, another bit of variety. Next is an open-topped car, which again is on bogies, but has these wonderful gate panel doors which sort of open down, and they would be used obviously to tip out heavy cargo, such as these boulders. And this set is a mock, but it's very sort of basic, so I'm not taking massive credit for it. But it's based or inspired by the railroad tractor flatbed from 1991. That's set 4543. And that was one of the ones that back in the day in the catalogue I always liked the look of, but never had. So I've kind of done a modern version of it. And it's good to have another quite lumpy cargo type in my train. And I don't know where else I'll be able to use these rock pieces. Oh, it's getting really heavy to push now. And that is only 9. So we've got 2 more. So the next one is what I like to call a boxcar. And that's from the old red cargo train, so not the Beast, but set 3677. And it's basically a box on wheels, as you can imagine. It's actually not got bogie plates. It's about as long as you can get and go around a conventional corner. Now, I didn't have that set, so I've built this out of pieces that I've got on Bricklink. And the only difference I've got is with the doors. These sliding doors are relatively difficult to get hold of, not for a decent price anyway. So I got these doors from the Western Train Chase set, which is a Toy Story set from 2010, 7597. And they've obviously got the dollar bill logo on them. But I was inspired by that, so I decided to make this kind of a bullion truck. And you'll see in there, we've got a couple of pallets of gold bars, which are accumulated from loads and loads of different crook sets, but also topped up from Lego bricks and pieces. So that's good. So this has got loads and loads of lovely gold. And if crooks weren't aware of that, they are now, because we've got dollars on the doors on all sides. So yeah, fantastic idea that. But I really like the green colour, I like the green stripe, and I really like the way this roof is sort of embossed by using the curved slope pieces and the straight slope pieces alternately. So that is number 10. Last but not least is our lumber carriage. Now this is a set inspired by the recent cargo train, the green one, 60198, but it is actually completely different. I've actually done this myself, and that's just because the way that the one from that set was designed, these pieces were going out and becoming a risk to hitting other stuff. So if you look very carefully, it's a bit hard to see because it's on black, but these are all on jumper plates. So everything's actually just recessed half a stud inward, which means that these carriages aren't 8 wide anymore. They're actually 7 wide, and that's enough to escape any damage. So I've also put a bit of black underneath there, and I've also made the tree stumps, or stumps, tree logs, lumber, whatever, trees, I suppose that's what they're called, have these lovely tiles to decorate their ends where they've been sawn off, and I think that looks fantastic. Not only that, but I've got them on the other end as well. And you may think, well, hold on, how have you managed that? Well, if you look carefully in the middle, you've actually got 2 shorter logs joined bottom end to bottom end by way of a Technic axle. Therefore, you can have studs and therefore a tile on that end and on that end. And then we've got chains across all the logs holding them in place. Now, much like the set 60198, where there's a criminal on the train or watching the train who's after the bank vault in that set, well, I've got a bullion car full of gold, so I thought I would also have a crook who was after it. And for that purpose, I've got this guy who is a very determined looking character with an eye patch, which looks like it's made of metal really, and he's got his pair of binoculars, and he'll be watching the bullion car from the timber car right at the very back. But how will a criminal who's trying to avoid detection hide on a lumber car? Well, he'll use a tree disguise, of course, and I've put another tree tile on the top of that. So when he's wearing his tree disguise, you can barely tell him apart from the actual bits of lumber. So if we put him on the back there, then you can see that wherever our train goes, there he is keeping a watch on it, so he can let his accomplices know when the train is coming, so they can steal the gold. Yeah, great train robbery sort of thing. So there we are. So that makes our 11th carriage. Will the beast be able to cope? So I think you'll agree that that is quite a long train, and does make great use of the fact that the track has taken up so much room in our city. I always think a train should look like a snake, not only slithering between different obstacles in a city, behind and in between buildings, but also a really long thing that takes up a lot of space all on its own. Right, let's set this thing going. Oh, lights on. I didn't mention earlier actually that this set has 2 light units in the Beast. They're the Power Functions one, 8870 light set, and it's got 2 sets of headlights, so not only has it got the pair of front headlights you can probably just see there, but it's also got the red lights at the back here glowing as well, and I think that just adds that tiny little bit more class. And all of that's run from the rechargeable Power Functions battery, which unfortunately you can't get anymore. I can't work out quite why. They were quite expensive. That's 8878 by the way. But I've managed to get a few, and I think they last a surprisingly long time, and then obviously you just recharge them, so it's really quite simple. Cool. So you can see that those 2 engines, when working together, do not have absolutely any problem pulling even that vast amount of carriages. I mean, to be completely honest with you, I think it could pull a lot more, at least 2 or 3. So maybe when LEGO releases another cargo train, and I like the look of 1 or 2 or more of the carriages on that one, then I'll go ahead and add those as well. Now in a moment I'll move to handheld and we can really see the train in more detail, and you'll see just how close this train gets to a lot of the obstacles, including our recent grey bridge. And I like it that way because I want everything to basically miss obstacles by the width of a plate. If it's 2 plates, then it's too far away. That's how I see it. Great, let's go. And there's the Beast going underneath the tram line and a passenger train. Now that passenger train will get a lot longer as well and become a veritable snake itself in due course, but it's only at its standard 3 carriages at the moment. So here we are, so you can see how close it gets to the new grey bridge. Whoa! And that lovely criminal on the back with his costume. And you really can't beat having full trains whizzing around your city, I'm sure you'll agree. With these tunnels, you can see the bit going over the river. I just love the fact that you can be looking between two buildings and a train will just appear and disappear just as fast. And there's that sweat and our control tower as well, with the workman on a continuous curve switch. Actually, while we're down here, look at our car of the day. Yes, I have remembered, which is kind of a Trans Am looking car with a doctor driving it. It's obviously his weekend sports car, and that's from set 4441, Police Dog Unit. So we're slowly populating our roads. And I just love the diversity in all these carriages and the fact that there's so many different colours. Just realised I should have had the tram running really as well. Right, well that was good fun. And now we've got a full-size cargo train in the city, and one that fits my diversity and density criteria. You can actually see from this shot that the engine is starting to turn this corner, while the very, very last carriage with the criminal perched on the back is still not finished going round the previous corner. So that means about a quarter of my track is occupied at any one time. Fantastic. Right, let's go out to a moving train. Get the other one going as well. So as always, thank you very much for watching. It is appreciated. Do remember to like, comment, and most importantly subscribe for more awesome LEGO videos. And next time on Robin Hood Bricks, well, it will be Monday, won't it? So it'll be time for part 3 of the very well received so far Modular Monday. See you then!